Hello all you freedom-loving people. Welcome to another episode of Front Page International. I'm your host, Scott Cameron Goulet. Australia seems to have gone mad over COVID-19 restrictions. Rescued dogs have been shot dead by local council to stop people from traveling to pick them up. Russia's Nord Stream 2 pipeline is almost complete. Its neighboring countries are afraid that Moscow will use it as a geopolitical weapon. Angela Merkel has one of her final acts as German Chancellor vowed to not let that happen. A Chinese woman running away from the CCP was arrested and detained in a secret Chinese jail in Dubai. This may be the first evidence that China is operating black sites beyond its own borders. Have you ever thought about running 200 marathons in 128 days? A British endurance runner did just that for charity. Okay, let's get into it. More than 250 people protesting COVID lockdowns in Australia were arrested on Saturday, August 21st. In Melbourne, more than 4,000 people showed up in protest of COVID restrictions and 218 people were arrested after clashes with police. More than 200 fines were issued, with each being for more than 5,400 Australian dollars or 3,850 US dollars. The police pepper sprayed the crowd to prevent demonstrations from breaking police lines. More than 2,000 people also gathered in Brisbane to rally against the lockdown and vaccine measures. In New South Wales, police said that they arrested 47 people and fined more than 260 in relation to protests across the state. New South Wales Deputy Commissioner Mal Layton said that police expected to identify more people through CCTV and through social media footage. They also issued 137 tickets after stopping around 38,000 cars that were approaching the city. This is due to the New South Wales 5-kilometer restriction placed on residents that we reported on last week. They have certainly gone too far. There's more. 16 dogs that were rescued by a pound in New South Wales were reportedly shot dead, including a mother dog and 10 of her puppies. The local government said that the dogs were euthanized to prevent volunteers from an animal shelter that is 160 kilometers away from traveling to pick up the poor dogs. The Berkshire Council, who made the decision, claimed that this was to protect its employees in the community, including vulnerable Aboriginal populations, from the risk of COVID-19 transmission. Unbelievable. The OLG is investigating the matter to determine if any animal cruelty laws were broken. Emma Hurst, a state member of the New South Wales Parliament, which is representing the Animal Justice Party, said that the incident was heartbreaking. Emma claimed last week that she had been working to prevent the council from euthanizing the dogs. She said, "It seems to me that no genuine attempt was made to get the dogs into foster care or to rescue groups. I've heard there were at least 2 groups who were open to taking the animals in. These lives could have been saved." The Taliban is threatening the U.S. and its allies to evacuate their citizens by the end of August. Otherwise, they will face consequences. But what actions the terrorist group might take is still unknown. On Tuesday, the Taliban spokesman said that they will ban Americans from staying in Afghanistan starting in September. The spokesman refused to extend the looming U.S. withdrawal deadline. Moreover, the Taliban is dissuading Afghans from fleeing. The Taliban has set up blockades to the Kabul airport. But the G7 leaders refused to back down after meeting on Tuesday. They agreed that the Taliban must allow people to leave the landlocked country after August 31st. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson said that the Taliban must guarantee a safe passage for those who want to come out. That's the G7's #1 condition. Johnson said that the G7 has very considerable leverage, economic, diplomatic, and political, if the Taliban refuses to budge. German Chancellor Angela Merkel said that the G7 wants a unified response, and it won't help anything if each nation does its own thing. On Tuesday, U.S. lawmaker Steve Scalise warned that the Taliban is actively hunting Americans in Afghanistan. Dozens of aircraft are flying American evacuees every day who are held up at the Kabul airport. The White House tweeted that the U.S. has evacuated about 58,000 people since mid-August. It's unknown how many people are still trapped in Afghanistan. After the Taliban took control of Afghanistan, many people ran to Kabul airport to try to escape. This video of an American soldier pulling an Afghan baby over a barbed wire fence went viral. Pentagon spokesperson John Kirby said that the unidentified baby was sick and that the soldiers had been asked to look after the infant by the parents. The baby was then taken to a hospital at the airport and was treated by medical professionals on site. The baby is now safely returned to the parents at the airport. Kirby said that it is a very humane act of compassion, and this is not a standalone case. Other moving pictures show a U.S. soldier holding a baby in a swaddle, smiling like a loving father. Another picture shows two female soldiers holding infants. The Marine Corps was also snapped, helping kids evacuate and providing them with water. Not only are the military providing them essentials, other pictures show soldiers greeting the kids and having fun with them. Representative Peter Major tweeted, "This is the America we need to be." Russian President Vladimir Putin said on August 20th, there were just 15 kilometers left to complete the undersea Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline from Russia to Germany. Nord Stream 2 is a system of offshore natural gas pipelines in Europe running under the Baltic Sea from Russia to Germany, with the first pipeline system, Nord Stream 1, inaugurated in November of 2011. Its annual capacity of transporting natural gas is 110 billion cubic meters. The line gives Russia a way to transport its abundant natural gas production to the European market, potentially bypassing shoreside networks in Poland and the Ukraine. The estimated gas transit fee is at least $1.5 billion a year when the gas goes through the Ukraine. The current transit contract between the Ukraine and Russia is set to expire in 2024. The Ukrainian government is increasingly concerned that Moscow will use Nord Stream 2 to cut its neighbors out of the gas transportation business, depriving Kiev of much-needed revenue. Moreover, Ukraine has been engaged in a low-level conflict with Russian-backed separatist militias in its eastern Donbass region for years, and the new gas route could give Russia new leverage in border disputes. In a press conference on Sunday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that the main risk after the completion of the $12 billion pipeline beneath the Baltic Sea would be borne by Ukraine, and that it's a dangerous weapon not only for Ukraine but for the whole of Europe. Members of the European Parliament called for a halt to the Russian pipeline in January during the final days of the Trump administration. At that time, the U.S. had already imposed sanctions on a Russian ship which was laying the pipeline. However, on May 20th, the Biden administration waived sanctions on one of the companies which is building the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, and they lifted sanctions on the executive of the company, who is an ally of Russia's Vladimir Putin and who leads the firm that is behind the pipeline project. The sanctions waiver comes after cyber criminals, who the U.S. government says were based in Russia, took a major American oil pipeline offline in May. This left thousands of gas stations across the southeast of the U.S. with fuel shortages. It also comes after Biden was lambasted in January for canceling the Keystone pipeline from Canada to the U.S. Biden cited the need to combat climate change for the cancellation. In July, the U.S. finally reached a deal with Germany. The deal is to prevent Russia from using its Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline as political leverage over Europe. Then, on Friday, August 20th, the Biden administration slapped sanctions on a Russian ship and two companies involved in the Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline. Opponents of the nearly completed project said that the weak measures would not stop it. In contrast to the U.S.'s floppy stance, German Chancellor Angela Merkel has vowed to prevent Putin from using the 1,200-kilometer-long Nord Stream pipeline as leverage. In Merkel's last visit to Kiev on Sunday, Merkel said that sanctions could be used against Russia if the Nord Stream 2 pipeline is used as a weapon against the Ukraine. Russia already supplies about 40% of the EU's gas. Merkel has tried to assure Central and Eastern European countries that the pipeline would not make Germany reliant on Russia for energy. Merkel offered to help Ukraine by providing $1 billion in order to help expand the Ukraine's renewable energy sector. Under the U.S.-German deal, Ukraine will get $50 million in green energy credits and a guarantee of repayment of the gas transit fees that the Ukraine stands to lose by being bypassed by the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. Before we move on to our next story, I hope you're liking our new show, Front Page International. Please help us to spread the word by liking, subscribing, and sharing this video. And if you want to help Front Page grow, please consider supporting us by donating to our donor box. The link is in the description below. We here at Front Page thank you for your support. Okay, let's get back into it. Tensions in Haiti are rising over the lack of aid to remote areas that were hardest hit by the August 14th devastating earthquake. The disaster killed more than 2,200 people in the impoverished Caribbean country. The country's Civil Protection Office stated that new bodies have been found in the south, with 344 people remaining missing and with over 12,000 people who have been listed as injured. Tens of thousands of homes are in ruins, leaving many families with no option but to sleep outside despite torrential downpours at night. The hurricane season in the Caribbean runs until the end of November. Haitian authorities said that nearly 600,000 people were directly affected by the disaster and are in need of urgent humanitarian assistance. However, anger over the time it is taking for aid to come through began to escalate, with residents attacking aid trucks. Authorities said on Sunday that attacks on aid convoys have complicated efforts to bring relief to survivors. Another food delivery was cut short on Saturday afternoon at a church after a frustrated crowd turned hostile, prompting aid workers to abort the operation. Pierre Honorat, the head of the UN World Food Program in Haiti, said, "We are concerned about the deteriorating security situation that may disrupt our assistance to vulnerable Haitians. But efforts to deliver food, water, and medicinal supplies to quake victims have been complicated not just by damaged roads and bridges, but by attacks on aid convoys by unidentified gangs. Since early June, a 2-kilometer stretch of highway running to the southwest peninsula from Port-au-Prince has been unsafe to travel amid persistent gang violence in a desperately poor neighborhood of the capital." U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said on Twitter that the USS Arlington naval vessel was heading to Haiti carrying helicopters, a surgical team, and a landing craft to assist in the relief effort. Several countries, including the United States, have already dispatched aid and rescue teams. A 26-year-old Chinese woman told the Associated Press that she was held in a Chinese-run detention center, better known as a black jail, while she was in Dubai. Wu Huan was on the run to avoid extradition back to China because her fiancé was considered a Chinese dissident. On May 27th, Wu was questioned at her Dubai hotel by Chinese officials and was then taken by the Dubai police to a police station where she was held for 3 days. On her third day at the police station, a Chinese man introduced himself to her and told her that he was working for the Chinese consulate in Dubai. He asked her whether she had been paid by any foreign groups to act against China. Wu told him no. She said, "I love China so much. My passport is Chinese. I'm a Chinese person. I speak Chinese. How could I do that?" The Chinese man handcuffed her and took her out of the police station and into a black car. They drove her to a deserted street with rows of identical houses. Inside the house, a series of rooms had been converted into individual cells. Wu was taken to her own cell, which had a heavy metal door. Guards interrogated Wu and threatened her. They told her that she would never be allowed to leave. One day, she saw another prisoner, a Uyghur woman, while waiting to use the bathroom. A second time, she heard a Uyghur woman shouting in Chinese, "I don't want to go back to China, I want to go back to Turkey." Wu identified the woman as being Uyghur based on her distinct appearance and accent. Wu and her fiancé, 19-year-old Wang Jingyu, are not Uyghur, but rather they are Han Chinese. Her fiancé is wanted by the CCP because he posted messages questioning Chinese media coverage of the Hong Kong protests and China's actions in a border clash in India. The guards also gave her a phone and a SIM card and instructed her to call her fiancé and Pastor Bob Fu, the head of China Aid, a Christian nonprofit who was helping the couple. Wu called them both. Bob Fu said of the call to him that, "I could tell she was hiding from telling me her whereabouts. At that point, we concluded that something had happened to her that prevented her from even talking." Toward the end of her detention, Wu refused meals and screamed and cried in an effort to be released. The last thing her captors demanded of her was to sign documents in Arabic and English testifying that her fiancé was harassing her. She said, "I didn't want to sign them, but she was really scared and was forced to sign." Wu Huan was finally released on June 8th, and on June 11th, Wu flew to the Ukraine from Dubai and was reunited with her fiancé. After threats from Chinese police that Wang could face extradition from Ukraine, the couple fled again to the Netherlands. Wu said she misses her homeland. She said, "I've discovered that the people deceiving us are Chinese, that it's our countrymen hurting our own countrymen. That is the situation." China and the United Arab Emirates have deep economic and political ties. They also work together on counterintelligence. China ratified an extradition treaty with the United Arab Emirates in 2002 and a judicial cooperation treaty in 2008. The UAE was an experimental site for China's COVID vaccines, and it cooperated with China on making tests. Besides the UAE, many other countries have cooperated with China in sending Chinese refugees back to China. In 2015, Thailand repatriated over 100 Uyghurs to China. In 2017, Egyptian police detained hundreds of Uyghur students and residents and sent them back to China as well. Rodney Dixon, a London-based rights lawyer representing Uyghur groups, said his team has filed a case against Tajikistan in International Criminal Court, accusing local authorities of aiding China in deporting Uyghurs. Next, how do you feel about running 5,000 miles or 8,000 kilometers? It's pretty much a round trip between Washington, D.C. and Los Angeles, or the equivalent of 200 marathons. A British endurance runner on Sunday did just that in 128 days. Nick Butter from Dorset ran 5,240 miles, or 8,432 kilometers around the coast of Britain. He crossed the finish line at the Eden Project in Cornwall on August 22nd, although Butter was delayed by injuries during the early stages and didn't finish in 100 days as originally planned. He still became the fastest person to run around the coast of Great Britain. The endurance athlete previously set a world record for running a marathon in every country in the world. He ranks his latest grueling challenge as his toughest yet. Butter said, "It turns out running 2 marathons a day isn't just twice as hard as running 1 marathon a day. It's far more brutal on the mind and body than I could have ever imagined. However, the incredibly kind and friendly support from fellow runners, both in person and around the world, has made it a little more bearable." Luckily for Butter, the natural beauty of the coast of Britain has blown him away. He recommended everyone to see more of Britain. Butter raved, "I'd recommend the whole coast. We live on a beautiful island. Let's look after it." Butter's latest feat has been raising money for his 196 Foundation, which represents 196 countries across the planet. It aims to provide aid to every corner of the world. Okay, this is our show for today. Thank you for watching our new show, Front Page International. Please help us to spread the word by liking, subscribing, and sharing this video with at least one of your friends, because everybody deserves to know the truth. Again, thank you for watching Front Page International, and we will see you next time.